Hey everyone, welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy. We took a look back at The Lion King recently and realized something. When you look past the glorious color palette, operatic score, and heartbreaking tenderness of this animated classic, one thing is pretty clear. Mufasa was a bad king. I know, we all remember King Mufasa as a wise, righteous, majestic lion who charmed his kingdom with his smooth, deep James Earl Jones voice.
And this'll all be mine?
I don't have any answers for you, so piss off.
But look closer and you'll see a selfish monarch who ostracized his family, discriminated against his subjects, and taught his heir terrible leadership lessons. When we first see Mufasa during the presentation ceremony, he has this aura of a strong, regal figure with a father's kind smile. But around his brother Scar, he immediately becomes cold and stoic. When referring to Simba, Mufasa says,
"That hairball is my son and your future king."
So he's belittling his brother by saying a small cub has more value than he ever could. Their conversation escalates until Mufasa becomes violent. Later, he even jokes about his brother's death.
He'd make a very handsome throw rug.
Zazu.
And just think, whenever he gets dirty, you could take him out and beat him.
And when you dig deeper in the Lion King canon, you find that Mufasa and Scar's relationship is built on childhood trauma, neglect, and abuse. And this is where Mufasa acquired his warped idea of what a king should be. When the film was released in 1993, director Rob Minkoff said that Scar's name is a really mean nickname, and that Mufasa gave Scar this nickname when they were cubs. So Mufasa never regarded his brother with respect. Later that year, the creators finally gave Scar an original name, Taka, in a series of books called The Lion King: 6 New Adventures. But in Swahili, Taka means waste or garbage. The first book of the series is called A Tale of Two Brothers and depicts Mufasa and Scar as cubs. Their father, Ahadi, spends more time with Mufasa, teaching the older son the ways of being a king, leaving little Taka feeling left out. He was a lot like Loki, desperate for his father's attention, while the king heavily favored the older, stronger son. But in the MCU, Thor shows Loki love and respect. Eventually, the villain becomes a savior for the Asgardian people.
I'm not doing get help.
And ultimately gives his life to save his brother. Unlike Thor, Mufasa distanced himself from his brother, fueling Scar's hatred for his family. And look, this doesn't excuse Scar's villainy. He does some pretty messed up stuff.
Long live the king.
If you like pina coladas.
But you can see how Mufasa's treatment of his brother helped create a monster. He preaches that respect for all creatures will bring balance to the circle of life, except for his own brother. That guy's a creepy jerk. Mufasa failed to learn that you create your own enemies when you don't treat your people correctly. So he got pushed off a rock.
If you like pina coladas.
And I'm not defending Scar. He wasn't a great leader either. But during Scar's reign, a famine struck the land, forcing the herds to move on. Much like Herbert Hoover or Jimmy Carter, Scar suffered from events beyond his control, while Mufasa took credit for a booming economy that he didn't create. Not only did Mufasa ignore his brother, he also ignored the subjects who needed him the most. This movie's been criticized over the years for promoting a circle of life where only the strong and beautiful can triumph and the powerless survive by serving the strong. Mufasa explains this to Simba.
When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. And so, we are all connected in the great circle of life.
So what he's saying basically is, I can only help the lower status animals when I die, because then I will become their food, so now it's only fair that I eat them. Mufasa subscribes to the philosophy of kratocracy. In the first chapter of Plato's Republic, Thrasymachus explained that justice is nothing but the advantage of the strong over the weak, or might makes right. And yes, this is how things work on the actual African savanna, but this isn't a trait that we typically look for in a leader. Mufasa shows little regard for the animals beneath him. He even takes advantage of Zazu's status as prey to teach Simba how to hunt, urging Simba to pounce on him from behind.
What's going on?
A pouncing lesson.
Oh, very good. Pouncing. Pouncing? Oh no, sire, you can't be serious.
So Mufasa belittles animals lower on the food chain and neglects his brother. But what about his fellow predators? We're told that one of the biggest threats to the sanctity of the Pride Lands are the hyenas. Mufasa has banished them from the kingdom, forcing them to go hungry. Scar takes advantage of their disenfranchisement, fostering their resentment to create a rebellion.
Stick with me, and you'll never go hungry again!
This serves as the catalyst for the end of Mufasa's reign and Simba's self-exile. Compare this to another MCU movie, Black Panther. T'Chaka turns his back on his brother Njobu and by extension impoverished African Americans. To right this wrong, Killmonger overthrows T'Challa. But in Black Panther, T'Challa berates his father for turning their backs on the people who needed them the most when they have the resources to help.
You are wrong! All of you are wrong! To turn your backs on the rest of the world!
In The Lion King, Mufasa tells Simba,
You have forgotten who you are, and so forgotten me. Remember who you are.
but there's no justice for Scar in this conversation, no one admitting mistakes. Rafiki tells Simba that the past can hurt and he should learn from it, but Simba doesn't.
Yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it.
From what we can see in Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, he doesn't learn from his father's mistakes, and the hyenas are never enfranchised. Simba should have never tried to follow exactly in Mufasa's footsteps. He taught his son some poor lessons.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Yes, this line is iconic and highly memeable, but it's followed by,
What about that shadowy place?
Must never go there.
this means he's turned his back on the hyenas and urges his son to do the same. He doesn't explain that the area is dangerous or filled with hyenas, or explain why the hyenas are dangerous. Maybe if he would have escorted young Simba to the elephant graveyard, the young cub could have seen how they lived and offered to help like a proper benevolent king. Instead, Mufasa distances his family from poverty because he doesn't want competing predators in the Pride Lands. Mufasa is a lot like another tyrannical father figure, Tywin Lannister.
A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
After Simba disobeys Mufasa, he's reprimanded for like a second. Pretty soon, they're mocking the hyenas.
But you know what? What? I think those hyenas were even scareder.
'Cause nobody messes with your dad. Come here, you.
Oh no!
And this teaches Simba that hyenas are weak and Mufasa is strong, so Mufasa gets to rule over them. Might makes right. You can even see this in how the entitled young cub perceives power. He announces that he can't wait to be king by frolicking on the backs of his subjects. There's no indication that he'll be any better than Mufasa. Given all this, the Lion King's lesson about restoring the circle of life has a darker connotation. This circle is actually a wheel that rolls on, crushing the hyenas and the herbivores. Let's hope that someone, maybe Simba's daughter Kiara, can stop this cycle.
I'm going to break the wheel.
So what do you think? Was Mufasa fit to be king? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.